is Deirdre Vervo. Thanks so much for joining us on Let's Talk Seniors Memory Care Issues, Dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. Today we have a great guest. I'm going to tell you all about the veteran benefits for seniors. But before we start, if you want to catch any of our other videos for seniors, please just check us out on Just Like Home on YouTube. You can find them all there. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to a man who has served our country for more than 20 years. He is retired vet, Orville Grizzle, and he has served in Japan and done 3 tours of Iraq and just done amazing things for our country. And he's here now to help other veterans get the benefits they deserve, get on the the insurance for vets, and help them out with all the special things that vets get and deserve. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Orville Grizzle. How are you, Orville?
How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. Well, I told them a little bit about you, but why don't you tell us, just before you get into your slides, a little bit about your history and your tours in Iraq and how you got involved in the Navy?
Well, I'm retired Marine from 93 to 2013, 20 years. Got 3 tours in Iraq, Japan, South Carolina, North Carolina, Quantico, Virginia. My last duty station was here in Connecticut, instructor inspector duty. And I've been working with the VA now since 2013, since I retired from the VA. Didn't know anything about the VA until I started working for the VA. And
wow.
And when I started working for the VA doing community outreach, I started learning about the different benefits that they have and taking advantage of it. I myself take advantage of all of the VA benefits, from the health care to the VA home loan to the education. Anything you can think about, I try to find out about it, use it first, and then I educate the veterans later on.
So Orville, out of curiosity, you were with the Navy for 20 years and they didn't tell you about all the benefits you were going to get?
Well, I was with the Marines for 20 years because that's the Department of Defense, the DOD, and the VA is 2 different federal organizations. So you have Department of Defense, that's for military, and then you have Department of Veteran Affairs. It's 2 different federal organizations.
Oh, okay.
And then you transition from one to another. But what you're supposed to do is when you're getting ready to get out the military, you're supposed to go to a transitional course on there. Not all veterans get to go to that course. I've gotten a piece of it, so I know a little bit about the VA. But then when I got out and got employed with the VA, I started researching it and started finding out more about what my benefits are. And then since I'm a federal employee and I'm a veteran, I take advantage of both of them.
Excellent. So just personally, what led you to join the Marines and make it a career for 20 years? Like, how did that decision take place? Did you just sign up for 3 or 4 years and love it? Or
Yes.
How did that?
Back in 92, 93, I was getting out of high school, and I didn't have any thing going on, and the recruiter was right outside my high school in Erasmus High in New York. Didn't know anything about the Marine Corps. He was the first recruiter. So I went down to his office, sat down with him, and I was 17 at the time, talked to him, and then I had to get my parents to sign me over. So he came over to the house. My mother was there, and my father was there. They was a little skeptical, but we talked and everything, and I got permission, and then I went to boot camp at 17.
Wow. And so you signed up for what, 3 years?
Yep, signed up for 4 years, and 4 years turned into 8, turned into 12. And then, once you're past 10 years, you only have to do 20 to retire. Might as well do the other 20.
Oh,
the other
my
10.
gosh.
Yeah.
That is really something. That is really something. So, okay. So that is amazing. And thank you for your service, of course. It's especially during Iraq. That could not have been easy.
Yeah.
It could not have been easy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it? I know you want to go through some slides. I don't know if we've on this one. You're working for the affairs, yeah?
Yep. So the first slide is just a little the second slide is just a little background about myself and what I do. The third slide, what I normally do is I assist VA Connecticut in the efforts to reach as much veterans as possible to educate them in enroll and care. Normally I'm based in one of the veteran centers. We have about 5 veteran centers. A vet center. We have two major VA hospitals, West Haven and Newington, and then there's 5 veteran centers that's outside. They mostly do mental health and counseling. But I find it easier to meet veterans there. So normally I'm located at the one in New Haven. They have a little office there for me where I go and meet veterans, talk them over the phone. But due to the coronavirus, I'm not able to do any one-on-one, and I normally do homebound. I normally go to veterans' homes if they're homebound. So most of the time, I spend most of the time on the road, speaking of their loved ones, fill out the application, take it back to my office, look at it, I process it, and in between that, I track it for the veteran. So it's easier for them to call me than to call the VA because they don't have to go through the 1-800 number. And
So
then once
do they go through you for everything, Orville?
well, they go through me they go through me for the major things, and if I don't know what's going on, what I do is for instance if it's aid and attendance or the caregiver program, I link them up with the person in charge of that program because there's certain applications that they have to fill out. So I go there and I help them fill out the application, and I take it back to that person, and I make sure it's correct. I send it over there. Once they get into contact or they get enrolled in the system, then that's where we part ways. So what I do is I just make sure their paperwork gets into the system and somebody contacts them from the VA.
We're
So
going to
once they
go
get
through the aid attendance program after you go through your story.
So the next slide, the VA right there on top, Department of Veteran Affairs, it has 3 components. You have the Veteran Benefit Administration, the Veteran Health Administration, and then you have the National Cemetery. And then the next slide breaks it down. Slide number 5. You have the Veteran Benefit Administration. What they deal with is compensation, pension, vocational rehab, employment. Just picture them as any kind of monetary or money that veteran needs. That's them right there, the Veteran Benefit Administration. You have the Veteran Health Administration. They deal with primary care, mental health, PTSD. If you have to go get your flu shot or any kind of health situation that you have to get, and you would go to West Haven or Newington. And then lastly, you have your National Cemetery. That's where if a veteran needs any headstones or they need to be any caskets or anything like that for their loved ones, that's the National Cemetery. So those are the 3 major components for the VA.
So it sounds like the Benefits Administration is more like financial.
Yes, they're more financial. They compensate you for anything that you need.
But I mean, education, that's where the home loans come out of.
Yeah, the home loans come out of there. That's education. That's where if you get aid and attendance, if you need a senior living home, that's where all the money would come out of.
Okay.
Under the VBA.
And the Health Administration looks like it's actually the health part, like medical, doctor.
Yeah. Yep, that's the medical and doctors and everything. They won't really guide you to put in a claim for disability. You'd have to go to Newington in Connecticut. That's where they have them on the 4th floor. That's where you have the Veteran Benefit Administration in Newington. That's who helps you put claims in. And I also help with that too.
I live in Stamford, and I think there's a veteran place in Stamford too. Is there not?
Yeah,
it's not a hospital, but
no, it's a clinic. It's called a CBOC. It's a small clinic, It doesn't do as much as West Haven and Newington. If you need to get any kind of operation or anything like that, or eyeglasses or hearing aids, you have to go to West Haven. But they do have a small clinic to get flu shots. You can go down there and see your primary care doctor. It's like how Yale has, you have big Yale and then you have little small clinics around Connecticut. Those are the they're called C-Box. Those are small clinics. They're all over Connecticut.
Difficulties, I think.
Say that one more time.
How
It's
does that
frozen.
work?
Say that again. How does what work?
So I see we're on to the eligibility. How does the eligibility work?
Okay. I'm sorry. The
eligibility.
the eligibility works different ways. It depends on what the veteran is what the veteran needs as far as eligibility. If the veteran wants to get into VA health care, there's a separate form for that. It's called a 1010 EZ. If a veteran wants to get enrolled in to put a service connection or anything like that, well, I link them up with a service officer to put in any kind of disability claims. If a veteran wants to see it, if a veteran wants to sign up and get their headstones early, I link them up with that. So it depends on what the veteran is looking for. So part of what I do is when I sit down with the veteran, I ask them what part of the VA they want to use. If you want to use all the parts, that's great. If you want to use one or two of the parts, that's also great. But I find out what the veteran needs and kind of steer my conversation to them.
So, Orville, are all veterans eligible to get a headstone by the government?
Yes, but what happens? The thing I have to explain to you and the viewers is to be eligible, you have to be enrolled in VA healthcare. That's the first thing. Veterans out there, they have to sign up to get enrolled in the system. It's just like if you're trying to get Medicare or any kind of other insurance, you have to be enrolled first. So what my guidance is for veterans is get in contact with me or get in contact with the VA. And the first thing is to get enrolled into the system, because we can sit down and talk about all these benefits, but if you're not enrolled in the system first.
So how does it work if you're a senior and you're on Medicare or Medicaid? Can you still be enrolled in VA health benefits? How does that work?
Yes, you can still be enrolled in VA health. You can still be enrolled in VA health benefits if you're on Medicaid or Medicare. What happens is on the healthcare side, you would have to pay a copay, no more than $15 for primary care, no more than $40 for specialty care. But the catch-all to that is, if you put in a disability claim and your service connected percentage is over 50%, everything is for free. But with Medicare and Medicaid, because they're other insurance, one pays for the other one. So what happens is the VA is gonna if you go and do something major, cost $2,000. The VA is gonna send the bill over to your insurance company, and then you're left to pay the copay, which is $15 or $40 per care. So what happens is, if you have other insurance, the VA is gonna ask you if you have other insurance. They're gonna charge your other insurance first before they charge you.
And is there a charge to enroll in VA insurance?
No, there's no charge to get enrolled in VA healthcare. It's not insurance, it's healthcare. With insurance, you have to pay a monthly fee. With healthcare, you don't pay anything. What you would do is you would fill out an application. It's called a 1010 EZ. You would sit down with me or you would sit down with somebody and fill it out, along with a copy of your discharge, because we have to verify that you was in the military. Because once we verify you in the military, what they do is they put you in different priority groups. And then once you're in these different priority groups, based on your priority group, like I said before, if you're service connected over 50%, you might be priority group 1. If you're not service connected, you might be in priority group 3 or 4. But based on your priority group,
what does service connected mean?
Service connected mean that you have a disability. So if you a disability that occurred while you were in the military. So say for instance, you were airborne and you jumped out of planes and you had bad knees, you would put a claim in to the Veteran Benefit Administration to get service connected. What they would do is they would rate you with a percentage, and then you're service connected. So when you're service connected for that disability, you don't pay anything for it. So for the rest of your life, anything that has to do with your knee or your legs, the VA will take care of. So if you need any kind of medication, any kind of walk-in stair lift or anything like that for that body part, the VA takes care of that. The rest of your body parts, now you have to pay you have to pay something for that.
Okay, I get it. So something
huh?
occurred, or you have PTSD, or you had an amputation, or something happened.
In the service, it has to be in the it has to be in the service. They have to link to you. It has to link to you in the service.
Gotcha.
And
Well,
if it gets worse, then you could put in for an increase.
wow. Okay. So
Yeah, and then my next slide, it just it covers for seniors, it covers the eligibility for nursing home, long-term care, and a hospice. That's three things that a veteran can get while they're when they enroll. And then my next slide after that, it just breaks down some of the things that the VA covers as far as long-term care, what it includes. This is not everything, but it's just an overview on what it includes. Like for long-term care, 24/7 nursing and Medicare, physical therapy, help with daily tasks, bathing and stuff like that. The same thing that you may get out there in the private sector. That's what it covers.
so let's say you have Medicare and you need some assistance in home because you broke your hip or something, not in service. Medicare will send out people to do in-home care. Why would somebody choose to use their VA benefit over like the Medicare system? Is there a benefit?
Well, the other things too you have to look at is this. There's a lot of veterans like myself that work in the VA. We know the language, and we know the lingo for veterans. Where some veterans are more comfortable talking to another veteran as far for their care. So when I go to homes and stuff like that, if I see another Marine and I'm talking to them, they kind of feel a little bit more at ease with me than with the other person. And then because the VA is so attention to detail and everything like that, sometimes in certain organizations, with the VA, they go back over what they talked to you about before. Like when I go and get my care, the doctor already knows what we talked about from before. Some organizations don't talk about that, because if I'm going to talk to you about something, you should already know what we talked about at our last visit. So some veterans feel a little bit more comfortable talking to other veterans.
So you're saying you get more individual care and you're speaking the same language with like
yes.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good. So tell us a little about the aid and attendance program.
Well, the aid and attendance program is something that you would have to fill out an application for, and if they qualify you for aid and attendance, you can get somebody you can get somebody, a family member or a loved one or somebody from outside to come and be your caregiver.
Oh.
So for instance, if I wanted my wife to be my caregiver, I can get my wife to be my caregiver, and the VA will pay them money for my wife to take care of me.
But what about if you don't have somebody you know? Can they use an outside person?
Yes, they can use an outside person.
And how much do they pay? Do they pay for 24-hour care? What do they pay for?
Well, it all depends. Everybody's situation is different. That veteran might not need that person beside them 24/7. They may need that veteran to just help prep meals or just be a companion, just to talk to them for a few hours. So every veteran is individual. I can't put a monetary value, or I can't put a thing on there, because there are some veterans that may not need it for the whole day. There are some veterans that just may need a small part of it. There's some veterans that may need a large part of it. What the VA does is they send out a social worker that that caregiver or that thing to actually assess what the veteran needs, and based on what they need, with the social worker, they provide as much care as they need or as much a little care, because not every veteran needs the care. Some veterans may just need help while they're home. Some veterans might want to be independent. It all depends on what the veteran needs.
Sure. So Orville, is there an income eligibility, or is you just have to be a veteran?
Well, to be enrolled in VA healthcare, there is an income verification. What it is between $55,000 and $60,000. What the VA does is they look at your last year taxes, and that's earned income. That's not anything with stocks or anything like that. That's earned income. That's if you have a pension, or it's earned income. So when veterans look at the application, they start telling me about other incomes that they're getting if it's not earned income. So if you retired, if this is 2020, if you retired back in 2018, obviously in 2019 when you do your taxes, your income is going to be lower. So what they do is we want previous tax years income, and most of the time veterans are not working. They're on a fixed income, and that's combined with yourself and your wife.
Oh, so your spouse. So as a couple, you can't make
Yes.
more than $5,000 a month.
Yeah, between 55 and 60,000 a month. But on the catch
Yeah.
on the catch a year. But the catch on to that is what helps a lot of veterans is what they have to pay out of pocket. Now, if they're making 70,000 a year, but they're paying 20,000 out of pocket for medications and stuff like that, so they fall into the $60,000 range. So on the application, it also asks them what they making out of pocket. So on the application at the bottom, it'll say, what did you spend last year on medication, any kind of aid for yourself and everything. So what veterans do is they'll put down a certain amount of money, and then once they start listing what they have spent on medication, other stuff, most of the veterans fall into that $50,000 or $60,000 threshold.
You take your income, not your
Yeah.
securities and bonds, things. You take your income and you subtract out what you've spent in medicine. How about health insurance premiums, things like
Yes.
that as well, or
Yeah.
just
Yep. Health insurance, all premiums and everything. The one thing I didn't say to it is this: on the veteran benefit side, if their disability is more than 50%, or they served in a combat area, the income doesn't matter. That's the one thing I didn't mention. If a veteran served in Vietnam or Iraq, or they served in combat, income doesn't matter. So that's one thing. If a veteran didn't serve in any conflict, then we look at the income. But if a veteran is served in any conflict or their disability is over 50%, they don't have to worry about income.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, what about assisted living? Do they help with assisted living, pay for assisted living?
Yes, well, they help with the hospice caregiver and nursing and things. So they do help with assisted living centers. But what happens is that when the veteran applies for it and he sees the social work and everything, they have to get the paperwork over to the VA. So depending on how much it costs, they help out. And I can't. Different assisted living places charge different amount of money, so I can't put a monetary money on there.
Is there a cap on it? Like, most assisted living places charge between, $6,000 and $12,000 a month. Are they going to pay that?
They're gonna pay a percentage of that. Now, every veteran is different, and every assisted living is different, because I know when I visit some of the assisted living places, some of them would give veteran discounts on their payment. So every organization is different.
Okay.
But the VA will pay a good chunk of that.
What about the spouse? Let's say the veteran passed away. Does the spouse get the benefit?
Well, there are widows pensions, and there are different pensions. If the veteran is service connected, and he's getting money every month from the VA. But for example, if your service connected 10%, that's $140 tax free per month. That rolls over to the spouse. So there are different pensions and stuff the spouse, but the key that I have to emphasize is, and I go out all the time, is the veteran or the spouse needs to get the veteran enrolled. So that's the biggest thing that I run into with the veteran. They're not enrolled in the system, and what happens is when the veteran passes away, the spouse or somebody comes and asks me, what can they do? If they're not enrolled in the system, there's nothing for them to get.
Oh, okay. So you can't enroll.
No, and they can't because the veteran is the one that has to initiate the enrollment.
So the veteran should enroll no matter what, even if they.
Yeah. So that's what I always pushed. Even if you don't use the system right now, like for instance myself, I'm enrolled in VA healthcare now. I'm 46 years old, but since I'm enrolled, my loved one don't have to worry about later on, because later on, if I get an illness to where I can't remember anything, they can go over there with my social security number, and they can talk on my behalf to get care. And that's another thing that I push too, is when you enroll early, the loved ones don't have to worry about any kind of paperwork, because you're already in the system. The veteran's already in the system. It's just after the fact when the loved one starts getting all the confusing paperwork and everything. Because if the veteran's already enrolled in the system, paperwork should be already coming to their house from the VA from the beginning. So 95% of the time, the loved ones already know about the VA more than the veterans, because the wife or the daughter gets all the VA paperwork. So if they're taking them their regular visit, they already know about the VA. So 95% of the time, when I go over there to help them out, they're showing me paperwork that they get from the VA about some claim or anything, and I'm just helping them to fill the paperwork out from the VA. They're already in the system.
Very cool. So, and what's the best? So for seniors, the benefits basically are the health care. They also tell me about they get a headstone.
How they get a headstone is what they have to do is obviously they'll try to get in contact with me, but every funeral place should already know how to do it. What the funeral places does is they get in contact. If the veteran wants to be proactive, the veteran can go on the VA's website and just fill out an application. I can't remember off the top of my head what the application is. They fill out it to get a headstone ahead of time. But if not, when the veteran passed away, the funeral director, the first thing they ask for so they can get their military honors is their DD-214, their discharge. Once the funeral director sees that, they automatically send a copy of that to the VA, and that's how they get their headstones. So the key is the veteran discharge. And most funeral directors around here, they already know the process.
Wow.
But if a veteran wants to be proactive before that, they can do their tombstones ahead of time. So for instance, myself, if I want to fill out something early, I can go ahead and fill the paperwork early and send it in there. And then when I pass away at whatever age I pass away at, everything is already set up.
And is it at a veteran cemetery, or is it at a cemetery?
Well, no, because because depending on what state you live in, we're not in DC or Arlington now. Rocky Hill has the veterans, the cemetery is ran by the state for Connecticut. Different state have different priorities. Some state have their own veteran, but Connecticut doesn't have a funeral per se. If that veteran wants to get buried at, depending on what he wants to get buried at, what the funeral director does or their loved one is, they get in contact with the VA, and then the VA will pay that funeral home or that cemetery for the headstone.
So you're saying in Connecticut, since we don't have a VA cemetery, they will pay, if you want to go to your local cemetery, they'll pay for your headstone?
Yes, they'll pay for the headstone. What happens is the local cemetery has to get in contact with the VA, or the loved one has to take the paperwork over to the local cemetery so they can get in contact with the VA so they can get their headstones. And some veterans already pre-start the process already. They already fill the paperwork out, and they already got the paperwork in the system. So whenever they pass away, the cemetery already knows that their headstones is supposed to be made.
So
Some
Orville,
veterans.
is there a veterans cemetery in most states?
It all depends. The big one is in DC is Arlington, but I know, just speaking here in Connecticut, Connecticut, huh?
I've been there.
Say again?
I've been there.
That's the big one, but some states don't have it, and because I live here in Connecticut, I can tell you that Connecticut doesn't have one per se. They just work with the local cemeteries here to get the veteran their headstone.
Wow, that's great.
It's easy when you're in DC and all the other places because it's ran by the VA, so there's a dedicated federal employee that you can go to for a one-stop shop. But here in Connecticut, there's not a one-stop shop here because it's ran by a private party.
Okay, so that's a great benefit. I never even heard of that benefit for veterans.
Yeah.
That's quite an expense. So they can get aid. What did you call it?
They can get aid and attendance, hospice, and nurses aid, nurses care. It's on my slide 7.
So the first thing they have to do is enroll.
Yeah, the first thing they have to do is enroll, because if you yeah.
And once they do that, then you could talk about all the benefits that they could possibly get.
Yeah, because they have to be enrolled in the system. Because even if a veteran comes in and talk to me, the first thing I ask him is he enrolled? If he's not enrolled, I sit down with them and get them in the system, get them enrolled in VA healthcare, and then after that, depending on what direction they want, if I don't know all the information, I link them up with that social worker or that specialist for that department, so they can get the care that they need.
Now, can you be in, I'm a little confused about the eligibility. Can you be in the VA healthcare enrollment, even if you make over, let's say you make $100,000 a year? Can you be enrolled in it, or is that just too much money?
Well, what happens is this: most veterans wait until something traumatic happened in their life. What I tell veterans to do, especially the ones that's getting out of the military right now because they're not making that much money when they get out, I tell them to enroll, because once you enroll, you're always enrolled. So if you make $100,000 later on, once you're in the system, you're in the system. Is the ones that later on that they wait until something happens in their life and then they're making the big money. They're the ones that I have trouble getting in the system.
Oh, so they should enroll right away.
Yeah, so they enroll, because the average veteran that gets out of the military is not making as much money until they get into their civilian career. So I tell them, put themselves in the system, and once you're in the system, you won't have to worry about income later on. But wow. The older veterans that's not in there, they want to go out in the workforce and start working, and then if something traumatically happened in their life, then they're looking for the VA to help them out, because sometimes the insurance company that they have raise the premium. Like I know October, November, and December timeframe, that's when open season happens. And that's when I get most of my phone calls, because now they say their premium is going up. What can I do to get enrolled? When I fill the application out and send it in, sometimes it comes back as the income is too high or something happens. So what I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I urge veterans to do is, I urge veterans to get, even if they don't use it for whatever reason, get yourself in the system and just have it in your back pocket. Because my philosophy is, the more insurance or the more care that you have stacked up against you, the less you're going to pay out of pocket, and the more places you can turn to. Because, for instance, if Medicare or Medicaid don't help you here, the VA may help you somewhere else. So if you need equipment from somewhere, one of those 3 or 4 places will help you get your equipment to little to no cost.
Now, what about, I feel like my uncle was in a VA nursing home. Are there nursing homes just for the veterans?
There are nursing homes, but most nursing homes are ran privately. there's not there. Maybe if you go to places like DC or somewhere where there's a big military population, but most small states, the nursing home are ran by a private organization, and when they sign up, then what happens is the nursing home will build a VA for care.
I'm pretty sure my uncle was in one though in New York. And everybody
Okay, so
was everybody
okay,
wore
so
a cap, and everybody was a veteran. There was all men.
okay, so they may. I would have to do my research on it. They may have to. They may have one in New York. For me, I just, because I cover Connecticut, I try to just help people in
Okay.
Connecticut on if the veteran moved, if they have a question and they want me to find out about New York, I can link up with my counterpart in New York and find out what it is for the other states.
Yeah, that's pretty cool benefits.
Yeah.
So, in closing, what would you like to tell people, Orville? You're full of information, so it
Yep.
sounds like
And
number one, register.
Yep. And closing, my contact information is right there. And then the website at the bottom of it, it has useful information, it has all the forms in there. But my biggest concern is to make sure veterans get enrolled in VA healthcare. That's my number one concern. You'll be surprised at how many veterans are not enrolled in the system for whatever reason. They some veterans say, I want to save it for other people, or I want to do, I want to do wait until I'm sick. But I tell veterans, get enrolled. That's the most important thing. Once you're enrolled, it's easier for me to work with you, because all I have to do is call up the VA hospital, look you up in the system. You're already enrolled, and stay to wait what you need.
Orville, why doesn't the government make it automatic that veterans are enrolled? Why do they have to go through jump through a hoop? Why don't they should be automatically enrolled?
Well, now what happens now? Before, the Department of Defense and the Department of VA Affairs wasn't talking to each other. What they're doing now is what Congress is doing now is they're trying to link the medical records and everything together, because even coming out the service, sometimes you may not have all your medical records. You may have to go acquire it from other places. So what they're trying to do now is they're trying to make it to where when you're still on active duty, you can get yourself enrolled in VA healthcare. Because before, a veteran had to wait until he got off active duty to get enrolled. So now they're trying to link both departments up.
It should be a benefit. It should just be an automatic benefit. Right?
It should be an automatic benefit, but for right now it's not.
All right, I believe you. Well, Mr. Orville Grizzle, you've been full of great information, and I hope any vets out there that are not enrolled will heed your advice and enroll immediately, so they can get these benefits when they need them, or talk to you about all the other benefits that they might never have heard of till you just spoke about them or saw your slides. But thank you so much for being who you are and for serving for 20 years. Amazing. And thank you so much. And thanks for coming on the show. Will you come on again another time when you have a new program?
Yes, I will come on. Anytime you want to invite me, I'll come on your show.
Thank you, Orville. I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Stay well.
Okay.
Stay healthy. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was Orville Grizzle from the VA. 20 years in the Marines. That is pretty cool stuff. Well, thank you so much for watching us here on Just Like Home Memory Care Issues. I hope if you like this, just look at our other videos on Just Like Home on YouTube. And that's what happens with live video.
Hi, Deirdre here again. Thank you for joining me on Let's Talk Seniors Memory Care Issues. Is this an issue hitting home? Do you have a parent or loved one with memory care issues who you feel is not safe at home anymore? Are isolation, falls, and safety issues becoming a big concern? Welcome to Dogwood Senior Home, premier boutique residential senior living specializing in memory care. It's country living at its best in the Huntington section of Shelton, Connecticut. We're truly a home with only 6 senior residents living as one family unit. Senior residential homes are a concept sweeping the nation with 47,000 across the U.S. We're pleased to open Dogwood Senior Home as it will be only number 6 for Connecticut. Brand new, sparkling clean, opening mid-June. And safe, safe, safe. We are COVID-free. Residential care homes boast a very low COVID infection rate across the nation. This is due to the intimacy of size and speed in which the caretakers can shift to accommodate immediate needs. They are much safer than the large homes and facilities, as you can imagine. It has been documented that residents have less falls and a better quality of life in a residential home environment. Our home is more affordable than the big box facility. You pay one all-inclusive price, and that price is guaranteed for the life of the resident. With an incredible 1-to-3 caregiver ratio, which you won't find anywhere else. Our friendly, loving caregivers are dedicated and trained in Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's issues. We're only taking 6 residents, so the home will fill up fast. Call me at 203-689-7562 for a talk and tour. I would love to meet you and your loved one. See you soon. Bye.